Hey guys, if you struggle with insomnia, you probably experience this once you start sleeping better or you had just one good night, then for some reason you feel anxious. And you don't know, you don't understand where this anxiety comes from because things seem to be, going pretty well, and then suddenly you have that kind of like unpleasant feeling. And I can definitely say that I had this as well. I'm not sure that if everyone experienced that. I know that some people definitely experience just like myself, but I just decided to make a separate video on that just to explain what is happening, what could possibly be happening here, so that you have a clear idea what is going on and how to approach it. And I'm going to give you 3 reasons why this might be happening, so you can maybe recognize your own thoughts here. And I'm going to give a little bit kind of like an antidote to those 3 reasons to help you kind of like break this kind of like thinking patterns. And I hope you will find it useful. As always, a general disclaimer that I'm not a medical doctor and this is not medical or any professional advice, just my thoughts and ideas. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel and also to my Sleep Talks letters. It is a free newsletter where I publish some of my personal coaching extracts from coaching that I do. I write a lot and I have a lot of unused material that I want to share with others because there are some nuances about coaching that I find extremely useful on the recovery path. So if you feel like you need some extra support on top of what you hear on this channel, feel free to subscribe to this newsletter. I will provide the link in the description and I hope I will see you there. So why do we feel worse on the nights when we sleep pretty well? And sometimes we might also get into this kind of like yo-yo pattern. Maybe you recognize this as well, that one night you sleep really good and then another night is bad, and then again a good night and then bad night. So it kind of like repeats itself, this kind of pattern, and it's super frustrating, it's super exhausting. I understand it completely, so I want to kind of break down. And the first reason that can be affecting this anxiety after having a good night is that once you start sleeping better, you suddenly feel that there is something to lose. This is like pretty obvious one, and I've been talking about it in some other videos or in articles. But during insomnia, it's like we experience a lot of fear about losing sleep. So it is that fear that keeps the whole struggle going. And when we feel we're losing sleep, so once we get it, we feel like, okay, now we have to hold on to that result, we have to maintain it. And naturally we don't want to feel worse, sleep worse, and that kind of like the desire to keep that result, to maintain that result, ends up with us being worried about what might happen in the future and how can I prevent it. And of course this anxiety is something that kind of like initiates this struggle with sleeping in the future. And I want to kind of like put here like some sort of like an antidote to that kind of thinking, to that kind of like reasoning, and it is basically understanding that nobody can lose the ability to sleep. It is our inner ability, and this is something that only our bodies know, and we don't have control to that. But we never lose it. Even when we struggle with insomnia, we never lose the ability to sleep. So as long as, or the moment when all those difficult emotions, anxiety, physical sensations, worrisome thought, they go away, that's when the sleep drive kicks in, and that's when sleep happens. So there is nothing to really to lose, because by sleeping better we are not actually gaining anything. It's just our body function in action. And as I said in the previous video, you might want to check it out as well, take it for granted. Whenever you feel like you starting sleep better, I find that it's so much more helpful just to perceive it as something very ordinary, nothing special, because that's when the brain learns that neutral reaction to good nights eventually leads to neutral reaction on the bad nights. And we know that once we don't have any particular reaction to our sleep, this is when we stop chasing it, and this is when we stop blocking the sleep from happening. It just starts happening on its own without us doing anything for it. The second reason why you might be feeling anxious after a good night might be that you cannot understand what worked last night. And this is something that you probably experienced, that you tried a lot of things and so on, and then you had one good night where you just simply cannot figure it out how it happened. It seems like the good night happened like out of nowhere. It surprised you. You were not expecting that, and now the brain chaotically tries to figure out, okay, what worked. It is a normal reaction from the brain, because if you think about it, the brain is all about finding the connections between things. If you take two random things, you will always find the something how to connect them together, like explain their connection, or find like similarities or differences and so on, because that's what our brains do in order to get some sense of control of situation. So by sleeping better, unintentionally, automatically, the brain launches this problem-solving process where you try to figure it out what worked. You might start like thinking, okay, I did this last night and that and that and that. What from all of this has helped? And naturally, this kind of like problem solving and not really finding the clear understanding what worked produces this anxiety, because you kind of feel like you are unarmed. You somehow you slept, but you don't know how, and this makes you anxious. And the antidote to that is, again, understanding that nothing out there can actually produce sleep. It is not something like, it is not a substance or a ritual or a thought or a mindset that helped you get this result. It is really has nothing to do with any sort of activity that we did and sleep happened, because sleep is beyond our control. We don't know how to sleep. Our bodies know how to sleep, but we don't consciously control that process. So in a way, it's really by trying to find what worked, we became more frustrated because we find that nothing seems to work. And reality is that nothing really worked, because nothing is supposed to work. Sleep is something that happens to us and not something that we actively do. And the third reason is one of the maybe least obvious ones, and maybe you experience this as well, is that once you you've been battling with your sleep for some time and you've been feeling very frustrated, and it just like the whole process of figuring it out, solving insomnia brought nothing but suffering, and then you just decided just to surrender and not doing anything, and then the sleep happens surprisingly. And once the good night happens, after this kind of abandoning the fight, you might feel like, oh no, I have to do this again. I have to keep fighting for good sleep. So kind of this good outcome shows or tells you that then you need to keep fighting for your sleep. You need to keep figuring it out, problem solving it, and so on and so on. So you feel kind of like, okay, now I have to protect this. I really don't want it, but I have to, because I want to sleep well. So I know this is not really straightforward, but I find this kind of thinking behind this anxiety during the daytime, and it is definitely something that I experienced myself. So if this has happened with you as well, just know that the reason why you slept is because you abandoned the fight. It is not it doesn't really tell you that you need to continue the fighting. It's just the fact that you actually stopped fighting. You gave up on trying to sleep, and that's when sleep came. So just to wrap up here, so there are 3 general reasons. Maybe there are more. I haven't realized all of them, but just 3, the ones that I know of, is that might contribute to this kind of daytime anxiety after sleeping good. Is the first one is feeling that there's something to lose. The second one is not knowing what worked, how to recreate that result, feeling uncertainty from that. And the third one is that realizing that you have to keep now this battle going because you slept well. Now you have to maintain that result. So those three things can definitely make you feel like, less confident in spite of that result. And this is where understanding how really sleep works, how really things are with sleep, it kind of provides you this clarity where all things become like really understandable. There's nothing, no more mystery around it. And once there is no mystery, the brain just simply stops being interested in that. So I hope that this kind of like this explanation brought to you some sort of like maybe some new insights and help you understand what is going on. And if you actually noticed some other kind of reasons why you might be feeling like anxious, feel free to write in comments. I will be glad to kind of update this my knowledge. And of course I hope that you liked it. I will really appreciate if you subscribe to my channel. Last but not least, I want to say special thanks to my Patreon supporters. And if you want to support this channel, consider just checking out Patreon and see if this is something that you also want to join. And I thank you for watching this video. I hope to see you soon. Bye.